How's it going, peeps? It is now time for the Raw results slash highlights and review video. I'll go over the results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it kicks off with John Cena, and they show a replay of Cena beating Randy last week. Basically, he talks about the Chamber, how he's going to win the matchup, how it's it's an important matchup because it's the last chance to headline WrestleMania and defend the championship, in this case at WrestleMania 30 against Batista. And Tony Cesaro then interrupts. Actually, before he interrupted, John Cena listed Daniel Bryan and himself as the two guys that beat Randy going into the Chamber. So he didn't mention Cesaro. So then Cesaro comes out and he says, that John Cena isn't the only one that beat Randy. And then he gets in the ring, him and John Cena, talk, or John Cena tells him, just because you beat Randy doesn't mean you're on a winning streak. It just means that Randy's on the losing streak. And after that, I think it was Sheamus. Sheamus interrupted, Antonio Cesaro and Cena. Talked about how he is going to, win the matchup, how he's saving, his brogue kicks for Randy tonight, or saving the brogue for Randy tonight, and then at the Chamber that both Cesaro and John Cena's faces are going to look weird or look funny, because he's going to kick their teeth in. And then after that, somebody else interrupts. Try and guess who it is. I think it was Christian. Anyways, so Christian interrupts, talks about how Sheamus accidentally hit the bro kick on him on SmackDown, and he says he wished, Sheamus would have saved that bro kick for Ambrose instead. And then he says, I know it was an accident, but he's gonna hit the kill switch on Sheamus at the Elimination Chamber. After that, Randy interrupts. He goes over all the guys in the ring and how he's gonna beat them. He says he thanks the Authority for putting him, or giving him the opportunity to beat every single one of them in the Chamber match. And then after that, Daniel Bryan interrupts, and then Kane interrupts. And Kane says because of his actions last week, the Authority is giving him a chance this week to redeem himself by putting him in charge. And Kane says that since Randy's already in the match against Sheamus, he thinks it's only fair for the other Chamber participants to also be in matches. So he books Cesaro versus John Cena, and then he says that leaves Christian and Daniel Bryan, so they're in the matchup right now. And then once they come back from commercial break, you see Daniel Bryan actually in the ring telling Kane to get inside the ring, so I guess they can fight. Kane teases like he's gonna get inside the ring. He gets on the apron, but then Christian from behind attacks Daniel Bryan, and on commentary they talk about how, or they go over how Christian's just ambushed Daniel Bryan. I'm like, damn, the Christian quickly flipped the switch from freaking face to heel. He goes, I don't know, he seemed like a face in the promo when he interrupted Sheamus, saying he knew it was an accident, this and that. And all of a sudden, he's a heel, and in the matchup, he was mocking Daniel Bryan, doing the yes chant. And JBL, I think he said, I like this new Christian or something like that. So yeah, Christian's heel turn kind of came out of nowhere, like, really quick. And for most of the match, he was working on Daniel Bryan's shoulder, too. But anyways, the match ends when Christian goes for the kill switch, but Daniel Bryan counters it, and he actually counters it into, I thought at first it looked like it was going to be like a back cracker or a back breaker or whatever, or a back stabber, Carlito's old move. But he actually countered it into a roll-up and got the 3 count. He wins the matchup, beats Christian. And damn, man, I mean, Christian just turned heel, and his first match as a heel, he loses it right away. And not on top of that, he is the only superstar that, lost against Randy. And speaking of that, when John Cena was cutting his promo in the beginning of the show, he was talking about how one person has the least amount of momentum going into the Chamber, and I thought he was going to talk about Christian. Thought he was going to mention Christian, then maybe Christian comes out and cuts a promo or something like that. But no, he actually said Randy has the least amount of momentum, and I'm like, what? Randy? I mean, Randy beat Christian. Christian is the only, Chamber participant who doesn't have, I guess, a big victory going into the Chamber. He lost against Randy. He's so far, he's the only one that's lost against Randy. And also something else, man, Christian needs, maybe to get a new finisher or something like that, because it seems like the kill switch does more harm to Christian than it does to good. Because, like I said, The kill switch is probably the most counter or reversible finisher in the history of the WWE. Whenever he goes for it, he never, at least, well, maybe sometimes, but most of the time, he never connects with it the first time around. It always gets countered. And like if he's facing Randy, it gets countered, and like a few short moments afterwards, he gets hit with an RKO. In this case, gets countered, gets rolled up, and loses the match. But anyways, guys, right after the match is over, Kane tells Daniel Bryan, congratulations, and I forgot to tell you, you've got another match tonight. That wasn't your only match, and this other match is against me. So then Kane takes off his suit, gets in the ring. Daniel Bryan starts attacking him, but Kane throws him out of the ring. They go to commercial. Once they come back, Kane is dominating. And by the way, Kane was wrestling in a tank top, and Kane is looking jacked. Kane is looking more jacked than he's been in a long time. But anyways, pretty much Kane keeps working on Daniel Bryan's shoulder, the same shoulder that Christian was working on when he was facing off with Daniel Bryan. And eventually he gets disqualified when he has like Daniel Bryan was like sitting on the apron, and Kane put him there, and he was pulling back on Daniel Bryan's arm, and the ring post was like behind Daniel Bryan's back, if you guys can picture that or whatever. And bottom line, he gets disqualified because he exceeds the count of 5, and then Kane keeps on the assault. He throws him onto the barricade, and Daniel Bryan kind of hits the barricade head first. And then Kane continues the assault on the shoulder, and when he got disqualified, of course, they announced that the winner of the match due to disqualification is Daniel Bryan. And after the assault, Kane grabs the microphone and says, no, actually I was disqualified, I guess in response to saying that Daniel Bryan is the winner. And after that, Renee Young interviewed the Shields. They showed the replay of what happened last week with Mark Henry versus Ambrose, and then, the Shield taking out Mark Henry. And Ambrose talks about how, he destroyed Mark Henry or something like that. Reigns says, what are you talking about, man? You lost. And then Ambrose says, he softened them up for Reigns. And then Ambrose says, oh, but I'm betting you think you can do better or whatever. And then Roman Reigns says, I know I can. And they argue a bit, but eventually they start talking about the Wyatt family and end the promo, as always, by saying believe in the Shield, and then putting their fists together as they always do. After that, I believe it was a matchup between Santino and Fandango, with, of course, Emma and Summer Rae at ringside. Towards the end of the match, you had Emma grab Summer Rae and, put her up on her shoulders to hit an airplane spin, making her dizzy, making both her and Summer Rae dizzy, but Summer Rae fell. Emma remained, up, I guess. And Santino then went outside the ring to, I guess, check on Emma, I don't know. And, he was about to kiss Emma, and then Fandango comes in with a base. It was pretty obvious that was going to happen. They were about to kiss, and then bam, baseball slide on Santino. Fandango puts Santino back in the ring, hits his suplex slam, and covers Santino, wins the match. After that, Renee Young interviews Mark Henry about his matchup with Reigns and how he's going to fare tonight. Henry tells her, how do I look, how does it look I'm going to fare or whatever, and he says how last week he should have won the United States Championship, and that tonight it's not about winning or losing, it's about inducting somebody into the Hall of Fame. Not Hall of Fame, Hall of Pain. 'Cause that's what I do! That's what he actually said afterwards. And then it was the actual matchup, Roman Reigns versus Mark Henry. And it was a pretty short matchup, and just like the time they faced off on SmackDown, Reigns beat Mark Henry clean. He hit the Superman punch, followed that up with a spear, and won the match. After the match, Seth Rollins was all pumped up about Reigns beating him, while Ambrose was kind of, jealous, I guess. And Ambrose actually started stomping on Mark Henry and attacking Mark Henry after the match, I guess, just to prove something. And then the Wyatt family appear on the Titantron, cut a promo, and at the end of the promo, Bray Wyatt says, "Are you willing to die for this? If not, then you've already lost." And then Reigns tells Bray Wyatt to come down the ring. He says, why don't you come down the ring and talk this mess? And then they actually said that was their idea. So the Wyatt family comes down the ring, and once again they get on the apron, they get inside the ring, but then, just like the previous weeks, they leave and there is no fighting between the Shield and the Wyatt family. I was actually maybe expecting Mark Henry to come, get back in the ring and attack Ambrose or something like that, but no. Mark Henry was still out, I guess. Or, I don't know, Mark Henry did not, get up and attack Ambrose or the Shield afterwards. Anyways, following that, they had Cody and Goldust kind of promote some new toys, and Bad News Barrett came in and said he's got them some bad news, and he knocked over some of the toys by kicking them off the table. And after that, it was Jack Swagger versus Kofi Kingston, and pretty much it was, I was going to say a rematch from SmackDown, but not really, because on SmackDown it was a fatal 4-way. So it was just Jack Swagger versus Kofi Kingston, the person he made tap out on SmackDown in the fatal 4-way. And he made him tap out once again, this time with the Patriot Lock. After the match, Biggie Langston's music hits, he comes down the ring, Swagger gets out of the ring, and then Biggie Langston is in a matchup against Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal of 3MB. It's a handicap match. Both Jinder Mahal and Drew are in the ring at the same time. And during the entire match, Zeb Coulter's on the microphone making fun of Biggie Langston, saying whenever Biggie Langston would hit a move like a belly-to-belly suplex or something like that, he would tell Biggie Langston, you can't do that to Jack Swagger though, or he can't do that to you, Swagger. And eventually, Biggie Langston wins the matchup. In the match, he hit like a double splash. And yeah, in the end, he gets a big ending on both of them. And after the match, Biggie Langston grabs the microphone and tells Zeb Coulter that he hopes they make diapers his size, because after the Elimination Chamber, his mouth won't be the only thing full of crap. Following that, they showed another Alexander Rusev video or vignette. And then Renee Young interviewed John Cena, who of course talked about the Chamber, how any superstar looking to make a name for themselves would have to go through Cena, and then he talks about tonight, and how tonight we'll see what Cesaro is made of. His music then started playing towards the end of the interview, so he left, and then made his entrance, followed by Antonio Cesaro. I mean, I keep saying Antonio Cesaro, but it's just Cesaro now. So, yeah, John Cena versus Cesaro, and they have a great match. That's, it was just an awesome matchup. Cesaro hit his signature moves, the uppercut, where he throws the opponent in the air, hits the uppercut. He also hit an uppercut when John Cena was on the top turnbuckle, which sent John Cena to the outside. And he hit the big swing too. At some point, Cesaro, not Antonio. Cesaro went for the neutralizer, and John Cena counter. I saw that counter coming, because it was like the perfect, counter there. The neutralizer into an attitude adjustment, but Cesaro actually got out of the attitude adjustment. When Cena went for the AA, Cesaro kind of front flipped and landed on his feet, and then came back with a big boot to John Cena. But then he bounced off the ropes once again, but John Cena hit him with a clothesline, and then shortly after, John Cena kind of charged Antonio Cesaro, and he kind of rolled him up. It was some weird maneuver. Rolled him up, and from the ground picked him up into an attitude adjustment, hit it, and won the matchup. But man, this was it was a great match, and it really made Cesaro look strong. I was hoping Cesaro would win the matchup, but I knew Cena was probably going to win. But despite Cena winning, Cesaro really looked strong in the matchup, and it was an entertaining match. I mean, even the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Oh, and also, one of the highlights of the matchup, there were many in the match, but something that was kind of unique, or it was unique. You had Antonio Cesaro going for the big swing, and John Cena countered that into a DDT. Yes, he actually countered the big swing into a DDT. He countered it by sitting up, and then pretty much getting in position for a DDT and hitting it on Cesaro. And then after that, there was a backstage segment where Triple H and Randy were talking, and Randy starts making fun of Batista, and he doesn't realize Batista's behind him, so then when he turns around, he's like, "Oh, hey, Dave," or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Batista says, or tells Randy, he doesn't think Randy's a face of the company. He thinks he's the ass of the company. And Randy eventually leaves. And then Del Rio comes into the picture, and he's got like a neck brace on. And he tells Batista he hopes that Batista doesn't need his arms for his WrestleMania match, because he's going to break his arm at the Elimination Chamber and make him pay for this. And then he points to the neck brace. And then Batista kind of puts his arms up, I guess, or puts them in front of Del Rio, and then pushes Del Rio into like some I don't know what they're called, to be honest, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he pushes him onto some objects, and that was pretty much it. Triple H kind of looks at Del Rio, and Batista leaves, and that was it for that. And then Renee Young announces that at the Elimination Chamber match that was just announced is Titus O'Neil versus Darren Young. They show what happened on SmackDown, where Darren Young picks up a victory over Damien Sandow, and then Titus O'Neil attacks him, but then Darren Young attacks him back and gets the better of him. And once again, it's Titus O'Neil kind of taking the microphone off Renee Young and pretty much interviewing himself. And he asks, at some point in the interview, he asks Renee Young how does she spell champion. And she starts spelling it, but he says wrong, and he's like, champion, Titus, pretty much spelling Titus. And he says because of Darren Young, when he was with Darren Young was kind of preventing him from becoming champion. And he says at the Elimination Chamber, the fans will witness the rise of Titus O'Neil. And then the Los Matadores make their entrance, and followed by Sin Cara and the Wyatt Family. It's the Wyatt Family versus Sin Cara and the Los Matadores in a 6-man tag team match. Wyatt Family obviously, win the match up. They win the match when Luke Harper hits the discus clothesline on Sin Cara. He then tags in Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt hits Sister Abigail, covers him, wins the match. But as far as the match, it wasn't just entirely dominated by the Wyatt. You had Sin Cara and Los Matadores actually got some offense in. For example, the Los Matadores took out, I think Eric Rowan it was, on the outside with a double suicide dive. You had El Torito try to hit a moonsault on Eric Rowan to the outside, but Eric Rowan just got him and put him back on the apron. And also Sin Cara, for example, had taken down Luke Harper a few times. He took him down like a springboard, backflip, elbow, and also Hurricane Rana. But in the end, the Wyatt Family won the match. After it was over, I was expecting maybe for the Shield to come out or something like that, but there was no Shield. Following that, Jey Uso took on Billy Gunn, and on commentary was Road Dogg and Jimmy Uso. Towards the end of the match, Billy Gunn goes for the Fame-Acer on Jey Uso. Jey Uso ducks, gets out of the way, rolls up Billy Gunn, gets the 3 counts, and Jey Uso wins the match. Then, once he wins the match, and actually on commentary, when Road Dogg saw that Billy Gunn was going for the Fame-Acer, he kind of assumed the match was over and Billy Gunn was going to win. He was like, oh, I saw how this ends so many times, we're winning this. And, of course, it got countered, and like I said, Jey won the match. Once he won the match, Road Dogg was shocked. It seemed like he was about to go inside the ring to maybe attack Jey Uso. But Jimmy Uso gets off his seat as well, and then he charges Road Dogg. Road Dogg goes for a clothesline, and Jimmy Uso ducks, hits a super kick on Road Dogg, and then Billy Gunn tries to go on the outside to help Road Dogg, but Jimmy Uso goes back inside the ring. And then Jey Uso, who was competing, runs and does a diving crossbody, or just a diving move from inside the ring to the outside on both Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. And that's it for that. Afterwards, Byron Saxton interviews Sheamus about, you guessed it, the Chamber. And Sheamus cuts a promo on, you guessed it, the Chamber and Randy Orton. And after the interview was the actual matchup, Randy versus Sheamus, and I thought it was a pretty decent match. And the end of the match, during the match, Randy actually put Sheamus through the announcer's table, which I thought was unexpected. I didn't expect that at all in the matchup. He had a back suplex on Sheamus on the announcer's table. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, but eventually Sheamus makes it in the ring before the referee counts 10. And in the end of the match, Randy goes for the RKO, but Sheamus counters it, pushes Randy on the mat, and then he hits 3 Irish curses. He hits it, and then he keeps it locked on, I guess, and hits another one, and then hits a third one, and then he prepares for the bro kick. And at this point, you can kind of hear the crowd all of a sudden like cheer and look at like their right side. And usually when that happens, that means somebody's about to interfere, somebody's running down the ramp. And yes, it was the Shield. The Shield come in. I don't know why it was the Shield. I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know, the Shield is pissed off that Sheamus and Daniel Bryan and Cena are in the chamber and not them. But isn't it kind of too late to, you know, I guess, show their frustration? I don't know. But anyways, they attack Sheamus, and then afterwards, John Cena comes in for the save, and then Daniel Bryan comes in, and after Daniel Bryan, you see Antonio Cesaro, and then the lights go out, and you know the Wyatt family's coming, and on commentary, Cole says, "Oh, and Christian's there too," but you know he's saying that because you can't see him because the lights are off. And then when the lights come back on, the Wyatt family is now in the ring. And they're running from the Shields, and they start fighting. Everybody's fighting in the ring. All the chamber participants, the Wyatt family, and the Shields. And pretty much that ends the show. So, first things first, if you guys checked out my Raw preview, I was right. I told you guys the Sheamus versus Randy match, I saw 2 possible outcomes. One was either Sheamus wins with the bro kick, which he was about to. Or, number 2, was the match ends in chaos and all chamber participants, you know, get involved. So, I was right about that. I did say, though, that, you know, one of the chamber participants would, like, stand tall or something like that. I guess, you know, none of them stood tall, at least not before the show was over. But, you know, the match did end in chaos and all chamber participants got involved in the matchup, causing a DQ. Anyways, highlights. Man, highlights. John Cena versus Antonio Cesaro. That match was full of highlights. Cool matchup. Love the uppercut when Cena was on the top turnbuckle and Cesaro hits an uppercut. Cena just flies to the outside. And it was a great matchup. It was a great match overall. Randy versus Sheamus wasn't near as good as, you know, the Cesaro Cena matchup. That was a lot better. But you know, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say the Sheamus and Randy match was bad. I'd say decent. It was a decent match. It was actually a little bit better than I expected. But then again, to be honest, my expectations for the match for some reason weren't, you know, that high. And also, what else was there? Well, Reigns versus Mark Henry, we've already seen that. It was pretty much like a repeat of their matchup they had a couple months back, I think, on SmackDown. Christian turning heel. I mean, I like Christian whether he's a face or a heel. I think now Christian's character right now kind of seems like he turns heel whenever he doesn't get what he wants, you know, or turns into a bad guy when he starts losing. For example, he lost once again to Randy. He turned heel, but despite turning heel, he lost the first matchup he was in against Daniel Bryan. And speaking of Christian, they announced that on SmackDown, Christian would be facing off against Sheamus, so there's an opportunity right there, I guess, for Sheamus to pick up a victory and pick up some momentum going into the Chamber. But will that actually happen? I'm not sure, but right now, Christian pretty much has the least amount of momentum going into the Chamber. I mean, Randy, despite losing all these matches, he's a champion, and he beat Christian. Christian hasn't beat any one of the chamber participants lately, or recently, unless he, of course, wins the matchup on SmackDown. But SmackDown hasn't arrived already. It's still not. It hasn't aired yet. We have yet to see what happens there. Anyways, I don't want to talk too long here, although it's kind of too late because it's 24 minutes here. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, as always, can click that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And as far as the rating for tonight's Raw, I'd probably give it like a 6.5 to 7 on 10. And with that said, I'm out, guys. See ya.